Happy to be here this morning. For those of you who don't know me, I was your former mayor for 12 years, I think 2006 till about 2018. I'm a Navy veteran. I've been graduated from San Diego State as an electrical engineer. My wife, Carrie, and two children. We got two grown children. I met Carrie while I was in the Navy out here. And we lived in San Marcos, and we actually still have our home is in San Marcos. We kind of live between we have a condo in Oceanside and back and forth. And so I miss San Marcos. I still doing my dry cleaning and voting there, though. That's the great thing. We still enjoy going. Went to My Yard Live the other night too. That was kind of fun. Also, I just want to note on my staff, as Miles had pointed out, Crystal Jabara, who is also with me on the city council, there is part of my staff now. So we've got San Marcos covered. We're trying to take care of you. So I was a pilot for Delta Airlines for 33 years. I just retired last September. So finally I get weekends free. And so it's a great honor to represent North County, and including San Marcos. So the district now for me goes Rancho Santa Fe, Carlsbad, Oceanside, Vista, San Marcos, Valley Center, Fallbrook, all the way out to Borrego. So 600,000 San Diegans are people from San Diego County. So that's what it covers. Basically, with some of the things, county versus city, the county is huge. There's about 3.4 million people in the county. We got a budget of $6.4 billion. About a third of those dollars, about $2 billion or more, go to health and human services, which COVID is a big thing here lately. But the county does, many things. We handle the jails, the courts, the district attorney is in the county, the sheriffs are in the county, environmental health, beach and water quality testing, gas pump testing. We put the A in the window, hopefully an A in the restaurant you're going to. Also the agriculture and all the unincorporated areas, the unincorporated cities, which are like Fallbrook, Julian, Alpine. We got over 2,000 miles of roads out there and libraries. So it's a pretty big task. And there's 5 supervisors. So I'm one of 5, and we each represent a different district, but our vote counts countywide for 20%. And there's 18,000 employees at the county. So if you call my office, you got an issue or something like that, out of 18,000 county employees, we're going to find somebody that can help you with an issue if we can't directly help you. So, the cities also, they take care of roads and infrastructure, and we do that same type of thing for the unincorporated area. If you got a pothole in San Marcos, call Mayor Jones. But we take care of roads in the unincorporated area. So COVID, big. Hopefully, we're turning the corner on COVID. As of I think yesterday, we went into the red tier. So the red tier, the biggest things that kind of people notice about the red tier is you get to go to restaurants now, and restaurants can be open at 25% capacity indoors, and then also gyms can now be 10% capacity indoors. Padres are going to be open. Hopefully, they're going to be open for fans on opening day on April 1st. Movie theaters are allowed to open at limited capacity. So, although it's not everything everybody wants, it's a step in the right direction. And hopefully, with the vaccines, the bad news about the vaccines, there's just not enough of them. What the county has done is we've built an infrastructure to be able to vaccinate. I forget what the number is, but 5,000 or 10,000 people a day, maybe even more a day. We've got enough infrastructure in places for vaccination sites. It's just getting the vaccine. We did start getting the Johnson & Johnson, which is the one-shot shot, but currently we've got about 1.3 million people in San Diego County have gotten the first vaccine. So that's not quite half, but almost. And then we have, the Superstation is there, Cal State University San Marcos. And then we've got other points of distribution throughout North County. There's some at Vista, there's some in Oceanside and Carlsbad, and pharmacies are giving out the shots. So I know the frustrating thing is trying to get an appointment. Unfortunately, there's too many different websites and entities running these vaccination sites. So it's a bit confusing. It'd be a lot easier if there was one, but there's not. Like the pharmacies, they get their vaccines directly from the U.S. government. So does the Marines, and so does some of these hospital organizations like Kaiser and Scripps. And so what you the best thing to do if you haven't gotten the shot yet, and just kind of backtrack a little bit, if you're the new group now is I think phase 1C they're calling it, but this allows all essential workers, all people between the ages of 16 and 64 now, if you've got an underlying condition, and you can go to the county's website to see what those are, but diabetes, and if you're pregnant, hypertension, obesity, all sorts of different parameters. Oh, there they are. Oh, good job, staff. Anyway, for the different, so you can find out and then hopefully get signed up for the vaccine. But for the Cal State San Marcos site, it's called myturn.ca.gov. And that's for many of the places in North County that are administering the vaccine, myturn.ca.gov to get an appointment. Others, I think I know it's 75 and older, or potentially 65 now too, I'm not sure, but another option is called 211. If you call 211, tell them you're over 75 or 65, or you've got an underlying condition, or you're not computer savvy enough, then you can call 211 and they'll set you up with an appointment. And if you contact Albertsons or Vons or CVS's throughout San Diego County, you might have the shot there to get the vaccination. So I'm sure there'll be some questions later on about COVID and when are we going to open up fully? I don't know. They didn't give me a crystal ball, but we're moving in the right direction, which is good. For grants and businesses, there's been stimulus grants and monies, and there's going to be more coming down the pike. Actually, later on this afternoon, we have a call-in with another Zoom call through my office with the county about distributing stimulus dollars. The county, we're expecting from this latest acts of the federal government with stimulus dollars of getting, I think, about $500 million in the county, for a little over $500 million for stimulus. And so where should those dollars be spent? And so we're going out to the public and saying, where do you think these dollars should go to first and foremost? And so, but just for the stimulus grants in San Marcos that we were able to give out, my office is able to give out, we give out $1.5 million to small businesses, and that was the 204 different businesses that had applied for those dollars. There's also, annually I get neighborhood reinvestment dollars, they're called, and community enhancement dollars, which is about $3 million a year that we're able to give out to nonprofits and organizations like that throughout the North County. And for San Marcos, we gave about $257,000 in this last year. And for community enhancement dollars, we gave about 145, so almost 400 grand. We were able to give and get to San Marcos as part of those annual allotment dollars. So before COVID, I'll try not to be talking too long here, but before COVID, we still have this problem, is behavioral health and homeless issues. And I was able to do pretty good for North County as far as dealing with behavioral health issues. We actually got more than the rest of some of the areas in the county for behavioral health. And what I was able to do is work with Tri-City Hospital. They had, just before I got elected, they shut down their behavioral health unit. It was their beds and a crisis stabilization unit that they had to actually shut down. I was able to get $17 million for them. The county's actually going to be building a behavioral health beds on site. I think it's up to 16 beds for just people with behavioral health issues. And then also to build a crisis stabilization unit, which is basically chairs, about a dozen chairs at a facility to where people can come in, and if you've got somebody, a homeless person on the street having a mental health episode or something like that, screaming out loud or wherever the case may be, there's a place they can take them to now in Vista, Oceanside, and Escondido. and that's for crisis stabilization. So they can hold somebody up to 24 hours. They can get them, get them back on their meds, get them showered, get clothing, potentially hopefully find a place for them to live or to shelter if necessary. But one of the cool things about this is it's a crisis stabilization units. These are open to the public, open to community. So I have had people call in the office and say, hey, I've got a son, or I got a nephew, or I got somebody that's really hard to deal with in the family. They're having an episode. They're not bleeding or anything like that. So an ER is not the right place. So this is if somebody is in kind of behavioral health crisis and families don't know what to do. These crisis stabilization units in North County, there's one at Palomar Hospital. There's one in Vista, not a Tri-City Hospital. There's one in Vista near the Ford dealership there. And there's one in Oceanside. So, that's about 3 times 12, 36 behavioral or crisis stabilization unit chairs. They're like big lazy boy chairs, but hopefully get people stabilized when they need it. So we got that. And then coming to San Marcos is the North County Family Justice Center. Okay, this is another behavioral health type of facility. It's called One Safe Place. It's under construction right now, or tenant improvements, essentially. It's behind the Ashley Furniture building there on Restaurant Row along the 78, not the old Ashley Furniture, but the newer one. In the back half of that facility of Ashley Furniture, the county has rented. And what this is, it's a place for survivors of trauma. Trauma issue, if there's, domestic violence or, unfortunately, rape and things like that, or someone needs a housing right away, if it's a mother or with 3 kids, they just got, they had to run away from the house. All they have is their car, and they have no place to go. This is what the San Marcos facility is going to be about, is having on-site nurses, medical professionals, counselors, attorneys for legal, if they need restraining orders, things like that, child care professionals, housing professionals, to try to help people who suffered, trauma, be it physical, mental, emotional trauma, a place for them to go. Because technically we really didn't have places for them to go, where you had to go if you needed a medical exam, after a trauma, you had to go to emergency room. Now you don't have to do that anymore. You can come to this one stop or one safe place. And so there, we'll have all these facilities, or not facilities, but departments that are able to help people who've gone through some sort of a physical or mental trauma, to help them, get the services that they need, instead of having to go into one place and the next day another place or another place, all under one roof. And so that's going to be at the, like I said, at the Ashley Furniture. I'm looking at my watch. My staff tells me I talk too long. But anyway, the another thing that just got appointed to and working on, this is an uphill battle, but the San Onofre site. It's been shut down, I think, since 2013, and there's already started to take away and tear down the outside or the ancillary buildings, the 2 domes. They're going to be taking those down, I think, in 24, 25-ish. And so a few more years before that happens. But unfortunately, when this whole thing started with nuclear power, there was supposed to be a depository for the spent nuclear fuel throughout the country. And since going on in the 60s, and technically anybody that's used nuclear fuel or paid a bill for nuclear fuel has paid into a fund for a disposal site. So that money is still being collected in some areas. And but unfortunately, what has happened now, the disposal site is on site. So there's about 123 canisters in cement, properly stored in canisters on a site that wasn't built for nuclear waste storage. So because the federal government has not found a place to put the nuclear spent fuel. Yucca Mountain in Nevada was the site, and billions of dollars were spent on building that. But politics came into play. and it was shut down. And so technically the country does not have anywhere to store spent nuclear fuel except on the sites where they're located. So I've been part of a group with Congressman Levin to try on a task force and try to move this stuff or find out temporary storage or places where we can put this spent nuclear fuel. San Onofre's on a fault line, San Onofre's, right next to the ocean. And so we've got, right now it's stable and as safe as it can be for the spent nuclear fuel, but this is not a solution for the country. So I got put on a task force with this task to potentially get this nuclear fuels moved. So it's going to take pressure on Congress and pressure on, and we've got one party now reigning the House, the president, the White House, the executive branch, and so hopefully, and the Senate. So hopefully we can get some movement and maybe get a place to at least temporarily store this spent nuclear fuel. Another thing, North County, San Luis Rey River Park. This is a cool park we've been working on. I know this is not in San Marcos, but it's along the 76 corridor. It's over in Bonsall, a very nice park. It's where the San Luis Rey Downs golf course was. So we're building a park in front of the Bonsall Elementary School and another park over by the Montserrat Mobile Home Park, which is near the 15. So basically it's going to be a park with ball fields and trails and frisbee golf and dog park, skate park in there, but it's going to connect the bike trail from Oceanside all the way to the 15. So that's kind of the essential, just this long linear park with a lot of it being trails. But so I think it's called Waves to Wineries. So you can bicycle from the ocean and go to, hopefully visit some wineries along the 76 corridor and enjoy that. So that's we just got, actually this week, I got $26 million this year to start the construction on that and the groundbreaking on that particular park. So that's in the works. My favorite subject here, save it for last, I see the Highway 78. It's still been a priority. I've been fighting for the 78. You've been paying taxes since 2008 and will continue to pay taxes until 2048 for an HOV lane down the center of the 78. However, that doesn't seem to be in the works for Sandag or in their plans, but we were able to get dollars for the environmental study for HOV lanes on the 78 and I-15 interchange. So that's what's shown here. So northbound 15, you got the HOV lanes that come up and stop just before the 78. This is to continue those HOV lanes over the 78-15 interchange and land somewhere around Woodland Parkway or Twin Oaks Valley Road. This is just the environmental study. This is not construction, but you have to go through this environmental study and impact report prior to construction. So it's a step in the right direction. But that way you could get on the HOV lanes at Woodland Parkway and then stay on those HOV lanes all the way down to the 15 without playing Frogger as you go across the from 78 to 15 now, trying to get on those HOV lanes. So that's a good step. It's ultimately love to see the in what you're paying for already, the HOV lanes all the way down to the I-5 in Oceanside, I-5 and 78 interchange, where there's still a stoplight. So it's been a long time and a hurdle, but this is something that we were able to get done when I was on Sandag. And Rebecca Jones, your mayor, is currently on Sandag and trying to continue to push forward in that effort. But I'm going to kick this back to Miles. He's my communications director, and I guess we had a survey. The Survey Monkey. Oh, here, I see this slide I'm forgetting. Contact my office if you have an issue on anything. Contact my office. I'm currently in the Vista office. Where you go to jury duty in Vista? I'm in the 5th floor of that building in Vista at the courthouse. But if you have an issue on anything, I'm your representative with the county. And even if we can't answer it, we'll get you the right answer. We'll get you to the person that can answer it. So I got a great staff. I got 9 people, and we've got expertise, from in all different areas and segments of government. And if you need help with an issue, I was on the phone with the San Marcos resident this morning, having trouble with the building and planning department. So we're going to get them in contact with the right people to try to get that done. So, and even if it's not in our district, we'll be happy to help and lead people to the right answers, or maybe to an answer. You may not like it, but at least we'll get you the answer and explain why, whatever it is, whatever your issue is. So happy to help at any time. So now I'll give it to Miles.
Awesome. Thank you, Supervisor. Thanks for doing that. And we'll come back to you here in a second. So yeah, we asked you to do the survey. I really appreciate you guys. I know, it takes a few minutes to fill this out, but it kind of gives us we want to address the most important topics. And I've seen some questions that we'll get to right now or here in a second on the chat, but wanted to show you, it's kind of interesting to see what your neighbors are thinking, see what other San Marcos residents are thinking. And so kind of going back to what I said in the beginning, when you look here at the top issues, it's kind of all over the place, which is interesting. It's good, so traffic kind of leads the way. And that was what Supervisor Desmond was talking about with the 78, but maybe there's more pertinent issues. Maybe there's other traffic issues, which we'd be happy to answer if you want to ask a question. Development, fire, and we'll kind of jump into some of these things. So like traffic, going right back to it, right? Pretty much the overwhelmingly majority say, yeah, it's either a really big issue or it's at least an issue, which isn't surprising. And that's kind of what the supervisor was addressing with the 78, which some progress is finally being made there. But we know that needs to be more. Obviously, it's interesting because we've asked this traffic question, and with COVID, traffic's been down a little bit. So for some residents, it's like, traffic's not a big deal. But I'm sure once all the jobs are back, that will be the case. Here's one that I did want to, Supervisor, I wanted to go to you on this one for a second, just to bring you back in. So we asked this question: do we need kids to be back in the classroom? And again, kind of an overwhelmingly strongly agree. And I know this is a passionate issue for many people. Supervisor, do you mind answering this question, kind of where you stand and what your role is on this?
Well, I've always thought we should have gotten our kids back in the classroom sooner. They're the least susceptible to the virus. However, they could potentially be spreaders, and we want to get the teachers vaccinated first. But I've always thought, we need to get these kids back in the classroom. They're not, it's a big burden on parents, especially the ones who can work. But if the kids are on Zooming and they're only an hour or so or a couple hours a day, that really wasn't helping getting people back to work. I was a big advocate, and still am a big advocate, for opening up the businesses, because I think some of these businesses were treated unfairly and weren't given the same opportunities as others to open up safely. But for some of the parents to get back to work, it was a burden, with the children. And so private schools were open, and they operated safely. We have not heard of any major breakouts or anything like that from the private schools that actually were open with in-classroom learning. So I was an advocate of trying to get them back in. It's starting to look that way soon. There's been some lawsuits out there against school districts as far as opening them back up. But I'm an advocate of getting our kids back into schools and getting them learning, and getting them caught up on kind of how they've been left out during this virus.
And then I wanted to jump in kind of this final survey question. And I know we asked a bunch, and we can show you them if you want to see others. But, again, San Marcos is an awesome city. You see it right here. I'm glad to see mostly overwhelmingly supportive of the future of San Marcos, which is really a great thing to see. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen, and let's get to your questions, which is kind of the most important thing. So again, you can put them in the chat, excuse me. You can put them in the chat. And you can also physically raise your hand, virtually raise your hand. We will get to them. Supervisor, I wanted to start with Carol's question here. And let me make sure I pull this up. Been a little disappointed in your response to the need to wear masks, and the need to wear masks even still as people get vaccinated. And can you kind of explain where you are on the masks, and should people wear them? Where are we?
Well, we're still in the mask phase. We still are recommending everybody, to wear masks. And I've always been a mask advocate. I don't know. I've heard this before from other callers. I'm an anti-masker or something like that. I'm not. Basically, the mask is a bit annoying, but in order to get businesses, I was a big fighter for trying to get businesses open. And so as part of that, I said, wear the mask. If we do this, we can get our businesses open sooner. So I've always been an advocate for wearing a mask. I still wear mine, and so because I think it'll get us sooner to a place of normalcy and back open. So I'm a masker and still am.
Fantastic. All right, let me put it to the gallery mode. Okay, so again, if you have questions, raise your hand in the chat anywhere, throw it up there, put them up there somewhere. Let me kind of jump back into here. Supervisor, the vaccines, I know you explained it, but I see here one that was answered, but Petco Park is shutting down. There's some talk of maybe moving it to the convention center as well. Can you explain the one that you and I actually visited, the Oceanside Vaccine Center and the Superstation, kind of the difference and what they can do?
Well, the Superstation just can handle a lot more cases or shots a day. Primarily, I think Cal State San Marcos was up to 5,000 per day is the capability. Now, whether we ever got to that because of the amount of vaccines, I can't really tell you, but I know that was, primarily the limitations. And there are other smaller points of distribution as well. One of the things we just did in Oceanside was we had a Live Well Center in eastern portion of Oceanside. We had a vaccination center there, but we just moved it. We just moved it to more in the downtown area of Oceanside, to our Mission and Barnes Avenue near the Veterans Center there, which was in a poor community and closer to a lot more people. So we're kind of, at first we're putting them wherever we could, and Petco, if it's Petco or the convention center, to me, I'm not really sure if one's better than the other or not. They're pretty close to each other, and it's still a pain to go down there. But I be honest with you, I hadn't heard yet that that movement was taking place. And if it is, then we're trying to make it most advantageous to everybody, the vaccinations, and get it spread out throughout the county. I know even in the unincorporated areas, we got fire departments and fire operation collaboration, they call it, where our fire departments and firefighters are actually giving out the shots in the unincorporated areas and making the rounds out there. So this vaccine has been very frustrating on many different levels. And they have been able to, though, when we do move one, particularly if you're going to get a second shot, they've been trying to be very good about contacting everybody and saying, hey, okay, instead of going to where you went before, now here's the new place. And we're definitely been focusing as the vaccine supply decreases, we focus on second shots primarily to get those out there so that people don't lapse for too long of a period of time and it becomes less effective. So, this is a moving target with many different facets, and I realize the frustration out there, but I can tell you the county is doing the best we can with the amount of vaccinations that we have and trying to prioritize them. Miles, you're muted.
All right, thank you. Any other questions? Raise your hand, put them in the chat. This is your opportunity. So please don't be shy on it. Supervisor, we do have a question that was written in prior to this. Let me see. Someone would like to understand the COVID tier system. We need to go to yellow. It's 1 per 100,000, but there's nothing lower. Does this mean that we keep the measures in place until 0? This person ranked COVID as their number one concern, their number one issue. Little worried, well, very worried about destroying businesses and lives, and also kind of that tiered system. Can you explain some of that?
Well, I can tell you I don't agree with that, how the tiered system, the numbering, because the tiered system actually is used by many states. It's not just San Diego County or California. It's used by many different places, but it's the metrics or the numbers that get plugged into this tier system. For us to get the tier system, it was 7 people just testing positive, not even going to the hospital or even having any symptoms, but 7 people per 100,000 testing positive, which is 0.07%, which is pretty low to achieve, which is why we technically, we've been in red before, but only for a couple of weeks, and then it was for a shorter period of time. I know they have adjusted, and I don't have it in front of me, but Just recently, they adjusted the tiers now to in red, orange, and yellow. From I think red now is less than 10. Well, that's 10 100ths of 1% per 100,000. So they changed it to 10. Some states have had it as, had red as being 250 or 100 or some more of a reasonable number, I think, which is still a fairly low percentage. And the same thing with the orange and the same thing with the yellow. There's only, I think, right now, only one county that's in the yellow right now in the state of California. And I actually met one of the county supervisors from that county, and I asked him, what's the population? He said, it's like 1,500 as the population. And so we've got, like I said, 3.4 million people. We are actually the second largest county in the state. LA is the first, then us, and then Orange County. So Southern California, we've got the most populous counties in the area. So anyway, the color tiered system is what we're still working with. At least they made some adjustments up. The yellow tier, quite frankly, there's not much difference between when you get to the orange tier. For the things that are open now at 25%, they go to 50%, and that's and then same thing in yellow, it's only 50% open. There is no green, and that's been kind of one of my beefs as well. Is there's no light at the end of this tunnel. How do we get to green? When many of the states have just declared green, they've declared no mask, they've declared So I don't know that we're ready for that yet, but I do know that as we've seen different states like Florida is the one that's in comparison with us. We're about the same as far as death rates and percentiles of positives and everything else. They've kept their businesses open. We've kept ours closed. And yet we still have pretty much the same outcomes. There was in the US, there was 50 different ways to, there's a song, 50, but anyway, 50 different ways to skin this COVID issue. And so I think we were a little bit too restrictive in our tier system, and hopefully we'll get some more relief soon.
All right. I see Frank has a question here. And again, if you want to ask it on the screen, please feel free to throw your hand up virtually or physically as well. Frank asked, why hasn't the county made the vaccine available to all people 60 and above? Can you kind of explain those decisions?
Good question, Frank. There's two schools of thought, and I'm kind of with you on this one. It should have gone by age instead of like the businesses going by sector. Because we know the most vulnerable, I think the highest percentage that died are 50 and older. And that percentage goes way up when you're 75 and older, decreases a little bit at 65 and then down to 50. So I think I know what the number was. I'm guessing this off the top of my head. 80 or 90% of the people that died were over the age of 50. So it should have gone by tiers by age, I think, first. But we did have, I did understand, okay, people who work in healthcare, people who are in the hospitals, people who are on the front lines, people, those should be as well. The ski patrol was in the first group. So was the marijuana workers. And it just seemed, unfortunately, we followed the same strategy with business sectors being open or closed, whether you were safe or not in your business. But it was unfortunate the way it is. But we are moving through. We are getting, our numbers are coming. I guess you have to look at the bigger picture as well. Our numbers are coming down, but I agree it should have been. But unfortunately, the states set those, and the governor essentially set all those parameters, and we're the county, so we got to do what the state says and make the best of it. And that's what we did.
Fantastic. Other questions? Throw your hands up virtually. We have a Shy San Marcos group today.
Miles,
yeah.
do you mind if I my name's Darren, and I'm Supervisor Desmond's Chief of Staff. Just a couple of things on the survey. We had that comment portion at the bottom, and it often gives us a lot of good information. We just want you to know that for those of you that filled it out, there are a couple of things that are pretty specific, like someone struggling with permitting. We'll be able to match your email address up with the comment, and we'll reach out to you. There's also a comment requesting more household hazardous waste collection events. And so we've noted that, and we'll see what we can do to make that happen more in North County. So we're paying attention to each and every comment, and we will be reacting and responding accordingly. So just wanted to say that.
Fantastic. I see Carol wrote in, has there been any thought given to bringing shots to the people rather than having the super station or one of the pods, like a mobile clinic to give clustered communities like mobile home parks or even to schools? I do know there's been the discussions. Supervisor, have you heard the same?
Yeah, well, we're slowly, getting to that point. The herd immunity is the the goal, and unfortunately, that means getting it out to as many people as quickly as possible. And going door to door is not as quickly as possible. It's these super stations and things like that to try to get to that herd immunity. But we have been looking at that. I've had doctors contact me that do house calls, and some people are not ambulatory, and they're over 75, and they can't get to one of these super stations, so they can't get to a vaccination site. And so we have been working with doctors' offices who go out and administer to these people, and I know that have had that request before, and even for mobile home parks that I know where you've got large concentrations of retirees and things like that in some of these parks, and there has been thought to that. However, we're not yet at that stage, and I think we're hopefully going to get there soon. We don't have, I know we've got a couple of delivery vans, but it's not just, basically it's the vaccine right now that's holding everything up. If we had as much vaccine as we could possibly handle or more, we'd be getting it out as fast as we could. And right now we're trying to get out what we have as fast as we can. Unfortunately, the other day, I did tell you, we opened up the new site in Oceanside. And I asked, how many vaccines are you giving out today? And they said 48. I said, what? That's all we got. And so it was very disappointing. It was like, here we got this big hoopla, we had a press conference and everything of here's a new site opening up in Oceanside. But the numbers we were giving out were pretty minimal. And unfortunately, that's where, the whole country is depending on now 3 vaccine producers. And everybody's clamoring for it, and it's just kind of they're spreading it like peanut butter, and we're getting, yes, we are getting our fair share in the county of San Diego, where it's not like we're being slighted or anything like that, because we keep an eye on that and seeing what other counties are getting. And I actually had a complaint from Riverside County from one of the supervisors there. He says, hey, you guys are getting 3 times what we're getting here. And the reason we were getting more was primarily because of the how we were giving it out, and primarily because we had more healthcare workers in San Diego County, primarily to biotech and all the and all the hospital systems and things like that we have here with Sharps and Scripps and Kaiser and all the different healthcare workers here with the military and everything else. We have much more of that here, so we were able to get more than other counties share on a percentage wise per population, because we had more healthcare workers here. And we also have a lot of retirees here. So it played out to our benefit. But the biggest, like I said, the biggest hurdle to getting mobile is the vaccine itself. And I'm hoping there comes a day when we just have so much we can stand on the street corners and give it out. But it's going to be a little bit before that happens.
Awesome. I want to go to
what else we got?
Yeah, I want to go to Alicia here, who is going to ask a question. If you want to unmute yourself and ask away.
Hey, hi everyone. Hi, Supervisor Desmond. Thanks so much for hosting. My question has to do with youth sports, and we are so thrilled that obviously they are starting back up, as are the students. My question is parental participation and being able to see their kids play. And if you can help us to understand a little bit more clearly how we can have other outdoor activities where there are kind of gatherings in groups, such as farmers markets or even outdoor dining in gyms, has been allowed, but parents are being prohibited from doing the right things, being, kind of socially distanced and wearing masks, from attending these sporting events that they have missed just as much as our players have.
Oh, hey, great question. Was she a plant? No, Alicia, no. I just brought this up Tuesday at our board
Yes, I
meeting.
saw it in the email. It was great.
Yeah, I brought this up on Tuesday, and we got it clarified. Um, it's up to the school district, to be honest with you, because as far as the state is concerned, and the CDC and the county is concerned, parents can attend. But it's got to be, I don't know the direct nuances, but it's got to be whatever the parents that live in the house, or a parent and a child, or whatever, a household members of the student, and they can go in and sit on. There's no limit on where they can go with it, on the field, or adjacent to the field, or in the stands, or in the bleachers. There's no limit set by the county or the state. So as far as we are concerned, you can go in and watch, in the stands, because what we were hearing is people are standing outside the fence, and all these parents were gathering at the few spots that you could observe the game, and they're all clustered together, wearing masks, but not, so it was kind of, non-intended consequence. But so we did find out, but it's school district property. It's so they can be more restrictive, and they can say, no, we're not going to let parents in the stands. So, so the issue is primarily with your school board or with the school district itself. And I think, we're going to have like 9,000 people at the Padre game, sitting outside on April 1st. And that's been okayed. To me, it makes sense, particularly, even outdoor dining. If you can dine outdoors, you should be able to sit outdoors in the stands and watch your kids play. And as long as everybody's behaving, being socially distanced, and you keep it in your family units and things like that. So it is allowed, but the school district, that's their turf.
Okay, so we can, as kind of members of the residing school districts, petition them directly, along with maybe some coaching advocates, to do that. And we have support, and obviously there's no CDC, state, or county guidelines, if I'm hearing you, prohibiting that. So it's really, no offense to anybody who might be a part of this, being mean about it. There's no risk, there's no science, there's nothing that really would be of any harm other than the other activities that are very similar. So that's great.
Oh, and then there's the extra added, if I were the school district, just thinking out loud, I probably shouldn't do this, but then you have to have somebody policing the stands to make sure there's no, people not obeying the rules, or not wearing masks, or they're, too close.
Well, I would hope we can police ourselves.
That's the thing. Yeah. Normally, if you trust people, they'll behave.
Yeah, because we don't want to lose the opportunity, right? So you do the right thing. Great. I appreciate you taking the question.
Thanks.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Alicia, for asking that. Megan had a question. I don't know if Megan wants to ask it, or I can ask it for her. Let me see. Oh, she said, that's funny. Okay, I'm going to ask it for her. So she said, sorry, Megan, I'm going to share it. She said she's got kids running around and screaming and hooting and hollering in the background. Let me see. Where is this, Megan? Sorry, let me go back. Oh, on the survey, she wrote that education concerns were kind of her big concern. Pre-COVID, San Marcos Unified School District was on track for classroom and school overcrowding. She's concerned about the rate of local development and the strain on schools, coupled with the strain on electricity, water, other public utilities. Can you comment on development in relation to schools and resources?
Well, that's always a tug of war, between development and new development, and it's not an easy one. And being as mayor, and now is the board of supervisors, it's a balance. It's a balancing act, and unfortunately, there's some very good arguments for no development, in that the roads aren't kept up as they should. We don't have the capacities and things like that. Traffic is always the number one complaint. The environment and many other things. However, we as a population, we keep growing, and we in housing prices. If you own a house, good for you. If you don't, you need $500,000 or more to buy a house. And housing is just going through the roof here lately, and so are rents. And we may come to a point, hopefully not, where the jobs start leaving because housing is so expensive in San Diego County. So I've been chastised many times for approving housing and things like that. I've also fought for infrastructure to make sure that we have we can handle housing and overcrowding in schools. And schools, like freeways, are not always built to 100% capacity. They kind of ebb and they flow. And so there's going to be times where they're overly crowded. Freeways are packed 4 hours a day, but they're open 20 hours a day. Schools, there's times where, I don't know if COVID's going to produce a lot more kids or less kids, and there's, ebbs and flows in population. So all I can tell you, it's a balancing act. This is pretty much a fact. Nobody wants any new housing next to them. I mean, it's always good somewhere else. And basically, the county, through lawsuits and environmental efforts and things like that, has shut down development in the unincorporated areas. And I know that makes people happy, but what that causes then is more housing than as infill projects in communities. So, and one of the big pushes is here lately, and it makes sense, is to put housing near transportation. So along the Sprinter line, or along, where transit hubs are. Palomar College is a transit hub, big bus hub there. Up and down the coast, where the coaster goes up and down. One of the issues with that, as far as transportation goes and housing, is up and down the coaster through Carlsbad, Solana Beach, Del Mar. Those are $1 million homes right up against where transportation exists. So we're gonna, and housing is a big difficult issue for San Diego County, because we're not building anymore, or we're building a lot less. I know there's that big scrape there at Twin Oaks over by the university. Housing's going in over there. On that site, Twin Oaks and Valley Road and the 78, there's dirt being moved, lots of dirt being moved. And I think that's all going to be for housing. So, I wish, I don't really have a particular answer for you, yes or no. It's in government, it's a balancing act. You have to, figure out where housing needs are. One of the things that the state has come out with, which I'm not in favor of, is the allowing housing by right near transit stops. There was a proposal a couple of years ago, and it may come back again, that an entity can build up to a 6-story housing project within a quarter mile, or maybe it was a half mile, of a transit stop without having to go and get permits, without having to get go through the parking or traffic analysis, without having to go through any of that analysis. They were just by right going to be allowed to put up a housing project within a certain distance. So I don't want us to get to that point, because then we have no control over it. So we still have to balance. And there's I know I'm going too long getting in the weeds on this, but the state requires us to build so many housing units per city and per area. And if you don't, you get fined. So anyway, sorry, long-winded answer, non-answer, but we'll try to balance things out as best we can. Thanks.
I know you have a meeting at 10, so I want to kind of wrap it up here with the last question, but I wanted to call on Brian, who had a question. Brian, ask away.
Hi, Supervisor Desmond and staff as well. I appreciate you all taking the time for our questions today. Supervisor Desmond, I was curious, with your insight into the county, local areas, and San Marcos, what do you think our greatest challenges in the growth of San Marcos are? Your perspective is going to be much more informed than ours, I believe.
As far as accommodating it, or as far as I mean, you're talking about growth, or just any issues facing North County or San Marcos?
I would say issues facing North County, San Marcos. Your questionnaire asked us what we think are our greatest challenges or greatest concerns. I'd be curious to know what you believe the greatest challenges are.
I think this kind of goes countywide, or North Countywide at least. Housing, I've already mentioned. Homelessness. Fortunately, San Marcos has very few homeless. but the rest of the region still does. And mental health issues, this is, these kind of things are kind of percolating to the top everywhere. For San Marcos, traffic and infrastructure, I think is kind of, the 78 is kind of an Achilles heel. Maybe after COVID kind of shakes out, there might be less traffic just because a lot more people are telecommuting and that might be some relief or some change. But, housing, homelessness, mental health issues, those are going to come back to the forefront because those mental health issues and homelessness were kind of front and center before COVID. They're still there and they still exist, but that's going to be an issue. And I just think, traffic and infrastructure in San Marcos, particularly, San Marcos is still growing and it's a very desirable city to still live in. Primarily because of the schools. You got great schools there and the school district. So, that 78 is going to be kind of an Achilles heel and I'm going to keep pushing to try to get that infrastructure that you're currently paying for in there. But, we're working on some of those fronts, but that's kind of more of a region wide, but San Marcos is going to be part of those issues as well.
Thank you.
Awesome. Thanks for that question.
Anything else, Darren? I'm going to ask for my chief of staff, Darren, is on the line here. And I'm going to have my staff introduce themselves as we go through this and give us their titles. But Darren, you got any more input on that item as far as San Marcos and issues coming?
Oh, roads and infrastructure has to be number one. And it's a challenge because we're never dealing with a blank slate. Even if you go outside of San Marcos to the county areas, and I think it was Tim and I had kind of a chat conversation. It gets difficult because you have development up against roads. So you take like Buena Creek Road, it's very difficult to widen that thing and to make some improvements that we need along the way to accommodate what's going on. And so that's always a challenge. And then of course, the supervisor mentioned homelessness, but we're trying to make a dent in it. I don't know if there's ever solving homelessness, but one thing that we're looking to do is partner with the cities and the mayors from the North County cities have come to us. And Donna Cleary, who's on, is our Health and Human Services and Public Safety Advisor. Donna has crafted board action that will bring county resources in the form of a team, social workers that really know the system, that will be dedicated to the various cities, as well as housing specialists to connect people with housing and other resources. So it's a hopefully a hand up, not a handout. It's also a marathon because you got to build the relationships to get people to trust enough to get off the streets and start to take the services. And so those are a couple of big challenges and things that we're on top of and tackling. So.
Well, here,
that's it for me.
Crystal, you want to introduce yourself and then Shayna and Madi, the people I can see on the screen.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Crystal Jabara. I'm Supervisor Desmond's Director of Community Outreach. So anything that you need questions or assistance, you can reach out to me. I put my contact information in the chat. I can get you in touch with the right person. So like Donna Cleary, who does Health and Human Services and Public Safety, Ben Mills, who does land use. I can connect you with the right person, get you an answer, get you help with any of your community needs. So feel free anytime to reach out. Thank you.
Well, Madi.
Hi, I'm Shayna Richardson, and I actually work with veteran and military policy. So if you have any issues with veterans or military, feel free to ask for me. And I also help out with some of the community efforts in our unincorporated area.
Hi, I'm Drozzo. I am Supervisor Desmond's executive assistant / scheduler. So if you want to meet with him or anyone on staff, I'm your girl.
I'm Donna Cleary, and I do the Health and Human Service Policy as well as Public Safety. So since San Marcos does have the Sheriff's Department, you can call our office if you have questions with that or go to the city. So thank you very much.
Is that everybody that's on here? And so I just want to kind of put a name to a face. I have a meeting at 10 o'clock, actually a meeting with the mayors of Escondido, San Marcos, Vista, Carlsbad, and Oceanside. So know that we work together and we try to get solutions for for across the 78 corridor, and we're working together on that. I just want to say thank you to everybody for being here. If you got any questions or something didn't get answered, contact my office. We'll be happy to help. We're going to try to do these at least a couple times a year with the community. And, thanks for taking the time to do this. We might do one next time in the evening. But I just wanted to say thanks for your time this morning, and hope you have a great day. Let's beat this COVID thing.